All right. Well, welcome to CRI's panel. Oh my goodness, my dog is barking. The joys of working at home. Um, we just want to start off this panel today and just start off by saying that our original moderator, Melissa Kim, is unfortunately not with us today. About an hour before our time together, she has fallen ill. So we're keeping her in our thoughts and wishing her a speedy recovery. I would just like to introduce myself. My name is Grace Bobbion. I am a volunteer at CRI and I'm also the career and education specialist at a nonprofit in Oakland. And it's a joy to be here today and to moderate this panel. And what we have here, 5 amazing CRI graduates who have generously agreed to share their stories with us, as well as the founder of CRI, Colette Carroll. And they will be telling us about CRI and the services provided. So we're just going to start by having each of the panelists briefly introduce themselves. Colette will also be giving an introduction to CRI, and then we'll hear from each panelist regarding their individual experiences. At the end, we will have time for a few questions. So if you have any questions that pop up that you're dying to know about, or if you have a question for an individual panelist, please drop it in the chat. We would love to answer those questions at the end. And we may not have time for all the questions, but we will get to as many as we can. So now I would like to have each panelist introduce themselves. So if you could share your name, how long it has been since you were released from prison, and what you are doing now. So let's start with Arthur.
Hello, my name is Arthur. Let me say something first. I need to see some people. But anyway, I've been out for 2.5 years, almost 3 years. Next month will be 3 years. I'll be off parole next month. Uh, I work in San Francisco for a nonprofit, and I'm just having a blast.
Well, thank you for being here, Arthur. Frankie, you're up.
Hi, my name is Frankie Smith. I've been out 3 years. I was out November 11th, 2017. I got out a couple weeks before Arthur. I'm currently, I work as a independent handyman. And I'm just happy to, I'm happy to be part of this panel. I'm also happy to be living in my hometown. So I'm close to my family. And I'm ready to do what we got to do. Thank you, Grace.
Nice. Yeah, thank you, Frankie. Ricky, you're next.
Hey, everybody. I'm Richard or Ricky, whichever one you feel comfortable with. I've been out for 1 year, 3 months, 10 days, 12 hours, 4 minutes, and like 36, 37 seconds. I'm working the union. Give a shout out to local 1036. I paint, working hard, trying to live my life, having fun doing it, enjoying life.
Nice. Thank you, Ricky. Roger, you're up.
Hi, my name is Roger Chavez, and I was incarcerated in 1992, and I just got out 5 weeks ago. It's been an interesting, almost surreal, but right now I'm trying to maneuver through the medical system and get my Social Security and, just the medical and dental and all the little things that, but mostly right now I'm spending a lot of time with my family and blessing from God there. Beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger.
You're welcome.
All right, Marty, you're up.
Hi, my name is Martin Walters. I served 32 years in prison for first-degree murder. I've been out since February, so that's actually 9 months. And right now I'm a substance abuse counselor. I'm working as program director, um, and I'm working in sober living environments as a volunteer, trying to build a community of healers. And that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. Check.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marty. Now that we've gotten to know the panelists and kind of a brief introduction, I'd like to hand it over to Colette to share the history and present CRI's program. So Colette, you're up.
Thanks, Gracie. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. I'm so glad you're here. Sorry we miss you, Melissa. Hope you feel better. For those that you don't know, CRI, as we call it, California Reentry Institute, is a pre- and post-release program for gentlemen currently just serving at San Quentin State Prison. Our program is a 450-hour-long, very intensive curriculum where we help gentlemen basically find themselves again. We have the philosophy that nobody's born to go to prison. I know there are a lot of people who want to throw people who are in prison away. They want to cancel them. But the truth is, we can't judge other people because we haven't walked in their shoes. We don't know what caused their pain, their suffering, their traumas, whatever it was that caused them to end up in prison. So our job at CRI is to actually get to know them and to help them understand themselves. And then once they understand themselves and understand the causative factors of why they did what they did, then we know that they're not ever going to do it again. And so I know you will hear from these gentlemen how we do what we do and how we just give them the tools and then they choose to use the tools. And with those tools, they are successful in society to the point where, as of right now, we've never had anybody go back. If you want to learn more statistics about us, you can check out our website. But in truth, tonight's about hearing their stories. So I look forward to hearing from them. And I'm really proud of every single one of the gentlemen that have gone through our program and they're doing amazing things out here. And I know, as Marty says, he's representing. I'm sure you guys all say the same thing, representing the men in blue, both inside and out. And I'll let you take it from here, Grace.
Nice. Thank you so much, Colette, for sharing and also creating CRI. I think it's been such a blessing to be a part of this program. And now that we all kind of know the brief history of CRI, I'd like to invite our panelists to share just their stories, their experiences, both of pre-incarceration, post-incarceration, while they were incarcerated. And we'll start with Arthur. So Arthur, if we assume that many people in the audience won't know or understand your story, what would you like to share about your story and experience?
Well, to start, I served 40 years in prison for crime of robbery, murder. I was a predator. I was a predator before I went to prison. I went to prison and continued to be a predator. Then I met Colette. And I didn't ever know what was wrong with me. I knew, I just thought that everything was all right. I was good. This is how I was supposed to act. I met Colette with the Crocodile Dundee accent. And I started learning about feelings and emotions, and I regained my empathy. Uh, and I was, it turned my life around. Before I met Colette, um, before I joined CRI, I probably, and they would have let me out, I would have went back to prison. I would have went back because um, the bottom line is I never understood what was going on. I didn't understand why I was violent, why I drank, why I used drugs. I didn't understand that. But I learned these things in CRI. Um, and upon my release, CRI was there for me. Um, it took me 11 months to get an ID. CRI had to give me a lawyer. Um, it was, it was very, very tough. But they got me part-time jobs. Told me to just chill out, don't worry about it, just go with the flow. Um, and without that helping hand, you know, I've been in the criminal all my life, so that's something I do know how to do. But having somebody there that cares about you, that just want nothing but what's best for you, um, it's a blessing. It's a real blessing. Um, they helped me find a job. I got a job. I work in San Francisco. School. I used to hate school as a kid. Now I be trying to get an A on every class. I'm taking sociology right now, uh, averaging a B plus, uh, and I'm still fighting for that A. But it's great. It's great. Bought my first brand new car, my very first own apartment. Uh, Life is good, and the change in me, I give it all to CRI. You know, if it wasn't for them and their help, I wouldn't be here. Bless you. Colette.
Well, thank you so
Check.
much, Arthur. Thank you so much. So good to hear your story and see you 3 years from when you started out on the outside. So thank you very much for sharing.
No problem.
Up next we have Frankie. Frankie, if you would like to share your story and experience, please.
My name is Frankie, and I'm kind of a late bloomer, I guess you would say, if you want to call it blooming. But I came to prison at 46 years old for second-degree murder. What brought me there was hopelessness and alcoholism. I had went through a difficult divorce, and I didn't know how to handle that rejection. And programs like CRI and other programs at San Quentin, they give you the tools and the ability to understand why you felt the way you felt. And it's just unfortunate I couldn't feel that before the actual action happened. It's beautiful to be given that second chance at life, to be able to sit here and not worried about a 9 o'clock count. For people that don't know what that is, that's usually when they come by and ask you last week. Right, Arthur?
Yeah. I ain't never been to jail.
I don't want to go off track, but I'd just like to say this for the people that are watching. A lot of people in life right now, especially during this pandemic and all the racial bias and the things we've been going through as a nation, they lose track of what life means. And they start taking things for granted. And I can only speak for myself, obviously, but being incarcerated for 15 years, 3 months, every day I wake up, I appreciate the day for what it is. I do not take anything for granted. I mean, I never thought I would die in prison, even though that it was a possibility. I went through 2 bouts of cancer while I was incarcerated, which also opened up a different type of door that maybe I would pass away. But thank God, with God's mercy, I'm here talking to you now. There's really, there's a lot of things about being free that I didn't think about before I was incarcerated. The things, like I said earlier, about taking things for granted. You know, I look at sunsets and I appreciate things in a different eye. I mean, incarceration brought me to the point where now I can understand what life really is. I mean, I said this in many presentations I've done in the past, and that's, you know, prison saved my life. And I would have definitely, I assume, I would have drank myself to death by now. But because of incarceration, I'll be given that second chance. It's unfortunate that a man's life was taken during that process, and I pray every day for his soul and his family. But I can't change that. All I can really do now is change the way I look at life as it is brought to me. I'm fortunate. I have a beautiful daughter, a beautiful son. I have 2 amazing little grandsons. My little bambinos, they're awesome. And I have my own house. It's not my house, but I have my own place. I live alone, which for all you guys, you know how important that is. And I'm just fortunate. I mean, CRI, the best thing I like about CRI is the fact that, you know, I'm pretty much a lifetime coach. You know, I've coached baseball most of my life. When I'm not coaching baseball, when I'm not in the field, I'm coaching in other ways. And the discipline of CRI is what I'm really proud of. Earlier, I was talking to Roger about being the doorman, the sign-in guy, where everybody tries to get over on. Well, I kind of passed that to Roger when I was getting ready to so he got a little taste with all the excuses that were unbelievable. He got a little taste of what I had to go through. But Colette's a hammer. I mean, they call her the pit bull, and she is. She's the hammer. I mean, if you're going to do this program and you're going to succeed, you got to put your nose down and you got to do what you're told to do. And this is how you learn. And it taught me a lot. I thought I knew everything going into CRI, but no, I learned a lot. And I thank Colette, and I thank all the volunteers, Chip, Bill, of course you, Grace, and your mom, Suzanne. I mean, it's a program that's obviously, I love the fact that Colette said, you look at the statistics, nobody's came back. Well, there's a reason for nobody coming back, because it works. Mm-hmm. You do it, you pay attention to what you're doing, and you succeed. If you don't, well, you have that option. You can stay in San Quentin. That's really up to you. Every man on this panel I know dearly. Every man on this panel I've done more than one program with. Me and Arthur walked halfway across Northern California when we first got out, because neither of us had a car. And yeah, I'm just happy to be part of this. Thank you.
Yeah. And we're happy to have you. And thank you so much for sharing, Frankie.
You're welcome.
Ricky, if you don't mind sharing your experience and your story with us.
Yeah, well, that's hard to follow. Thank you, Frankie.
Come on, Ricky.
So let me just say, pre, post, present, future, if it wasn't for CRI, I wouldn't be the person standing or sitting right here today. Let's be clear about that. But I came to prison for first-degree murder. I was a driver in a robbery, and ultimately somebody was tragically murdered. You know, my heart hurts for that. Nobody should ever be taken away from their family, let alone hurt or harmed. And I contributed to it, so I have to own up to it, and I do every day. I was a fixer. I thought I could fix it. I was a problem solver. I thought I could figure things out. All of these things uh, led to a lot of selfishness, a lot of insecurities, a lot of frustration. Uh, in CRI, I won't say it clicked at first because I thought I knew more than everybody already. I'm a fixer. They can't tell me nothing. I already know. But what I can say is what CRI did was it made a picture. So now I was able to put all of the things that I did know. I put it into a puzzle that showed that picture. And when I finished with that picture, I would have never got that picture because that picture was a mirror. So I was always looking at myself and I didn't even realize it. And all I had to do was look at that picture that I made of myself. And CRI really did that for me. I made me really look at myself. And that was something that I always was able to shuck and jive about, make excuses, play around with. Till Colette sat me in her office one time and said, "You can fool everybody else, but you can't fool me. There's more. Quit playing. If you want to go home, you have to stop and really sit there and say, I want to go home and mean it and quit playing." And I think that was uh, really the start of me saying, not only am I going to help myself, but uh, ultimately I started to help other people find out about themselves. And it was a good thing. There's a lot of people who went home behind some of the things that we talked about in CRI. We don't have to say no names. We don't have to do anything about that. We did it because we wanted to see each other go home. And I think that's what CRI did. I think it made everybody who was there feel like they were part of a family. And I think that's what most of us, and I'll speak for myself, always wanted to always feel connected, always feel like I'm needed. And CRI did that. And I think that's what really put me in the right set of mind to have this gain insight, this better understanding of who I am today. And it all revolved around the things that happened to me at an early age that I didn't want to face. And all I can do is say thanks. I have a great amount of appreciation for CRI. Uh, I wish when I got out, I was able to endure all of the good things that everybody on the panel were able to do. Sorry, Roger, maybe soon you will, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to Roland's house. And got put in a situation where I had to go to a place where I had to go all the way to I think it was plan N because it wasn't in plan A, B, C. So right now I'm on plan W, and sometimes I say wow, and then sometimes I say wow, and then I say uh, this is wonderful. So I'll stick with Plan W right now. I'm very happy down here. There's a lot of things that make me happy. Family. If anybody looked on the thing, you see my 3 grandsons. So somewhere, somehow, I'm gonna be a millionaire. One of them is my lotto ticket. I know. That's it.
All right.
Just
Well,
happy.
yeah. Oh,
There you go.
okay. Well, I'm hoping you get that that win, that lotto win eventually,
Oh.
Ricky.
You can buy us a house, Ricky.
You buy me a house.
Well, that's gonna be Ricky's house.
Oh, and for those who don't know, Roland's House is our transitional housing for men who graduate the program and stay in Northern California. So for those who are not aware of what Roland's House is, but we'll have Roland's House and Ricky's house when Ricky wins the lotto. So, all right. So Roger, we'd love to hear more about your story and your experience.
Okay. Hello, my name is Roger, and I'm happy to be here to share with all of you. And in 1992, I came into prison on second-degree murder of actually, it was a girlfriend of mine, and who I actually loved. And my life, I was addicted to alcohol and drugs, selfish, blaming everybody for my problems, um, and not really understanding, not really understanding how bad how bad a shape I was actually in, and what led to a lot of bad things happening, and my four children and her children being without a mother, and being my children without a father, and hurt a lot of people. So, given the fact that I stopped alcohol and drugs the next day, from that point on, I have not used. So, it being in prison, going to AA and NA, and it's like sometimes you go to get the chronos, you go to hang out, and then sometimes you get into a program like CRI, and they give you a real reality check. And I've been in the hot seat like Ricky was more than once with Colette, and she just called me on whatever my thinking, and if you want to be to be in that program was 2 years, and I was lucky enough to get enrolled in it. And you don't be late. You have to be someone of integrity. You have to be disciplined, and share and be involved. It's not one of those programs where like Frankie said, I was a door guy for 2 years after I graduated. And I used to catch the guys sneaking around and trying to not be there, and you don't do that. You give yourself 100% to the program, and if you want to learn anything, and I learned a lot about myself, a lot about my issues in life, and where it came from. Um, the thinking, boy, backwards thinking. I don't. I'm for maybe a lack of a different word right now. It's not really taking the time to understand about all the people that loved me in my life, and all the people that I should have thought about before I made these bad choices and decisions.
Mhm.
And today, I mean, it's been 5 weeks been out, and the first night I was out, I went out with my sister Cheryl, and my brother-in-law Pat, and my nephew Anthony, and we went to a Chinese restaurant, and wow, that was the first night, and to be actually be able to walk and walk out of a prison was amazing. The first walk leaving there was really something. The guy took me for a walk about a quarter mile down to the building, and I was like waiting. I don't know what I was waiting for, but when he finally let me go in the van and let me go, I couldn't hardly believe it. I didn't get in handcuffs. I got to leave, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
And one thing right now is I got to hold my great grandson.
Mhm.
Yeah, really
Wow.
good.
Yeah.
And there's another one being born in January, a little girl. That's Angelo, and then Sylvie. And I had to spend a lot of time right now with my son Brian and his wife Vicky, and I go visit them all the time over in Vacaville. I have a vehicle now, so I have a truck, and I've been driving back and forth, and just family to me is everything,
Mhm.
and all you guys are my family too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
spent a lot of time together, and I appreciate the I mean the help that when I got out, she came and took me out to lunch, got clothes, kitchen utensils, with anything that I needed, and it was nice. It was to have that support, and to know that I mean everything she said she did. There was no second guessing or anything, or maybe, or I mean, she showed up just like, I mean, she's great. And anybody who knows her and all these guys, and you, Grace, too. Thank you. You were a part of the team too, and it was just a pleasure, and something, a family that continues,
Mhm.
and it just does. And I'm happy. I'm just more than happy to be out. I can't still hardly believe it. But driving around people now, I'm seeing reality. Everybody's racing everywhere they go. It's crazy. Like
Mhm.
today, I went out with my sister and my brother-in-law, and we went to lunch at a Mexican restaurant down in Sacramento. They came up and visited, and I know they're probably listening right now. And I love them, and my nephew Anthony, and my son Brian, and Vicky. I love you all, and I just, all the friendship that I made here with everybody. And Frankie was my mentor. He was on me all the time. Yeah. Yeah, he helped me a lot, and if I got out of line, he was right on me. He's a good cook too. He cooked dinner tonight, so we had a nice little conversation before this meeting.
Yeah.
So I love you guys, and I don't know. Thank you so much, everybody, and for all your support. And it's to have that when you get out is amazing. Because there's
Mhm.
so many people that don't have anything when they get out. They really don't. They don't have the support. They don't have. They just nothing. And to have the kind of support that I have from CRI and Colette, and she's determined to help us, and for what it's worth, the love that we all feel, and I feel, can't even put it in words.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Roger. It's so good to see you. It's the first time I've seen Roger in about a year, I want to say. So it's very good to see you. And thank you so much for sharing.
All right.
Um, and Marty, we would love to hear from you about your story and your experience.
Yeah. Like I said, I came to prison in 1988 at 20 years old for the murder of Chris Reyes. I spent most of my time in prison continuing to commit crime and engage in violence and basically everything negative for about 20 years. I will say that in my experience, when I finally arrived at CRI, I started learning about things like, about abandonment and guilt and shame, trauma, and how that played a role in my life before committing my crime. Not as the cause of the crime, but as a way in which those tragic events shaped the way I thought about the world and how I saw the world. I came to understand that in analyzing like my beliefs of whether it was a dog eat dog world or whether or not people who paid taxes were suckers.
Uh-oh. It looks like we lost Marty.
Uh-oh.
Well, hopefully he'll be able to come back with us.
Yes. Well, while we wait for Marty, I just want to again thank you all for sharing your experiences and your stories. We really appreciate it. Oh, Marty's back.
Marty's
All
back.
right.
Technology.
So anyway, yeah, right, thank you. It was just basically like I had to analyze the way that I saw the world, and it was in CRI with this compassionate witnessing that took place with Colette and Grace and Susan and all these fine men that were in there. They too were my mentors, and we shared a lot of tears and a lot of empathy and understanding and compassion for each other in our journey to heal. And so as we went through the program and learned all the different elements and learning how to forgive myself and, you know, first for the impact of what happened and the remorse I felt and how I had an opportunity to either change the way that I behaved in prison, meaning like I could either continue feeling sorry for myself or I could make a change. And one of the beauties of CRI that's like unlike any other program is the fact that it provided not only the opportunity to heal, but the ways in which I could heal and give back right there inside of prison and counseling other folks and developing skill. And then carry that out into the street, into the community, not into the street. Well, sometimes I actually work in the street, so you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of issues happening in the streets themselves. And so it gave me a lot of security, and they met me at the gate, which meant a lot to me. And like these folks have been saying, we became a family both inside and outside of prison. Not that we always get along like families, but at the same time, at the end of the day, there's a lot of love, and I love all these folks, and it's in that love for self and love for the people that humanity happened. And so I could be doing anything else, but I choose to do this instead, which is being a counselor and being of service. And it's usually and definitely because of the folks that came before me and the people who are sitting in this room right now. So I just want to say I love you all and thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Marty. We so appreciate hearing your story, and thank you to all the panelists and all the folks who talked and spoke about their stories. We appreciate it, and we understand that those are probably the most vulnerable parts of yourself. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate your vulnerability and your willingness to be on this panel and to talk with us about it. So we're going to jump into some Q&A, some follow-up questions. And before we open it up to the audience for questions, again, if you have any questions that you've been dying to ask our panel, please drop it in the chat. We'd love to answer them, and we'd love to hear your questions. But I have a couple of follow-up questions that I'd like to ask, and I'm just going to put them out there, and I invite anyone who would like to share. I'm not going to call anybody, so you can go ahead and unmute yourself and share your answer. So the first question is for our graduate panelists. What do you feel is the biggest misconception about formerly incarcerated persons? And what would you like to share about yourself and others like you that challenge the stigma?
Not everybody at once.
Yeah. Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Sure. No problem. Let's start with the first half. What do you feel is the biggest misconception about formerly incarcerated persons?
Well, I feel that, personally, that, well, there's a lot of misconceptions, but to think that we're all thugs and not worth a second chance, and we all live in criminal minds, and you can't change, no one's really rehabilitated. I mean, I think these are things that people would assume that we are. And the reality is that that's totally so far from the truth that, I mean, I can't, I mean, maybe it is for, well, let me just go back and say one thing. When you have an L behind your name, it puts a different perspective on life. Guys that are short-termers and do 3 or 4 years and then get out, they may commit new crimes and the recidivism rate goes up higher, but in our case, it's less than 1%. And I think that's because it's a reality check. When you have that L actually means an L. It means life. So, and there's still a lot of guys that I know personally that are still in there on over 40. They have 45, 46 years inside, incarcerated. So that L is exactly what it means. So the thing is, I mean, you wake up, and if you want to wake up, you wake up and you get out. If you don't wake up, unfortunately, you never get out. So the misconception that we're not able to change or that we don't put the effort into changing is totally wrong.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Frankie. Would anyone else like to take a, well, I was going to say take a stab, but take a stab at the question? Misconceptions about formerly incarcerated persons.
I'm Roger. You don't just throw people away. We're human beings with a mind and a heart and a soul, and to think that we could never possibly change in life, that we, as Colette would say, she used to sit us down and say, are you, we used to have to repeat that we're not our crime. And there was like 50 guys in the class doing that. And if you can imagine, like, the guys sitting around and the tears coming down and the reality check of that, we never thought that, we didn't believe it. If we don't believe it, how are we going to change if we don't believe it? And Colette used to sit us down and have us repeat that. And then after a while, it started sinking in. It's like, I know what I did. I can never change that in life. That can never reverse it. But do I have to live in that shame and the mud and not, like, look at the sun in the morning and the sunset at night and I don't know. I just know that we're worth something.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And kind of bringing in this, oh, sorry, go ahead, Colette.
I just wanted to add that to what Roger says. Our philosophy, and we start from the very first minute that class starts by going around the room, whoever's leading it, and asking each man to repeat after me, I am not my crime. Because, and I'm sure Marty says this all the time, and he'll probably go there now, the truth of the matter is you're told over and 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 over that you are the worst thing that you ever did. And so that leads to such huge shame that we even have to explain the difference between guilt and shame. And those watching that don't know, the truth is, guilt is I did, shame is I am. And the truth is, until we get to the bottom of understanding each human being, the fact that we want as a society to cancel them out is so wrong. Because you have met these men tonight, and there are hundreds like these men, thousands like these men. And they may have done something wrong, but you can see, they honor the people they hurt. They live a life of living amends, as we put it. That's why Marty's a drug and alcohol counselor. That's why Arthur wants to be, he's doing social justice at school, and he wants to be a counselor. And Ricky is working towards doing everything he can to try and improve the things in Los Angeles that was so wrong when he went there. And Frankie and Roger and every gentleman in our class that we can't have everybody on this panel, but they're all the same. They want, if they could go back, they would change it in a heartbeat, but they can't. So all they can do is try to help others going forward. Yeah. Marty, do you want to add to that?
I do, and I would say that, like it said, that the debilitating notion of punishing people with shame and guilt and holding them frozen in a point in time, decades old, 30, 40 years, it also traps their potential. And so when you think about it, it's like for me, I think when I just first started to realize that I had other things that I could give back, and some of the ways in which that is possible is the idea that our potential is to change the way in which we punish people and apply like restorative practices so that other folks like us could realize their potential while they're incarcerated and take that knowledge and use it for pro-social means as a way of honoring victims and society. I think that we do a really good job in our programming as far as allowing those things to happen and to manifest. Because I remember sitting there saying, well, what would you rather have? Would you rather me be college educated and becoming a counselor, or would you rather me doing the thing that I did when I came to prison? Because we're getting out anyway. And so one of the things I was doing is I was a methamphetamine manufacturer, having people commit robberies and burglaries and God knows what else, and people addicted to drugs, God knows what they were doing as well. And so in the scheme of what happened in unleashing this unapologetic human potentialist, is what my friend of mine had said, I think that lies our salvation as far as our civilization goes, right? So if we can prevent people from not only committing crime by understanding them, going back and talking to these folks before incidents happen, getting them to understand the impact of what happens if they don't cease their behavior, and then giving them opportunity and hope to take advantage of who their authentic self, what they safety, respect, dignity, honor, integrity. I think that those cornerstones can shape the way that our society moves forward out of what we know right now is, just a lot of chaos and rhetoric that's dividing the country and breeding substance addiction, among other things. And so I'm a firm believer that my role in society is to give back in that way. And that I couldn't, and God's plan for me was that I had to suffer all of these things in a way to where I could reach people that are suffering.
Uh-oh,
We lost him again.
we
I
lost
think,
him.
I think to what Marty was talking about is what we say, as you know, Grace, in class. We believe, as I mentioned in the opening, that nobody's born to go to prison. There's a pivotal point in somebody's life where they feel unheard, they feel unseen, they feel unloved, they feel trauma. They could be abused, no matter what the trauma is. If it's too much to bear, they might start drinking, they might start doing drugs, they might start having other risky behaviors, they may seek love with gang members. There's all different stories, just as many as there are different human beings, but it's our job to find out what that pivotal point is.
Mm-hmm.
And as Marty used the word, authentic self. Nobody's born to go to prison. So the authentic self is that baby, that child, that childlike attitude. And so our job is to try and take our gentlemen back to that point so they can find their authentic self, that beautiful, unhurt, untethered, abused or whatever human being, and set them on the course to succeed in life. And as Marty also said, the truth of the matter is, I know he's listening, Sam Bond, one of my co-founders, the bottom line is he tells people, we are coming home to a neighborhood near you. How do you want us to come home? Do you want us to come home the way we went into prison? Or do you want us to come home as transformed human beings who are contributing to society?
Yeah.
Sam is the very first formerly incarcerated person hired by the city of Richmond. And he's doing amazing things across the country with young people. There's so much potential inside those walls. Our system is broken and we have to fix it.
Yes. And that is the perfect segue, actually, into our next question. We heard from Marty talking about certain principles that we've learned in CRI, where we learn about integrity and honesty and really transforming our lives in to be people that we weren't before, to be our authentic self. So this question that that I have next is, we've heard a lot about the principles that CRI teaches over the course of the program. So how do you think that these principles could impact the greater criminal justice system?
So I know you wanted me to start this off, yes. Grace. I think, having said what I just said, I think a person that could really talk to this is Ricky. Because Ricky, had he had CRI, and it will be a segue into us being able to talk about our youth program, I imagine. But had Ricky had something like CRI, if Ricky had had restorative justice, if there had been social justice, he can tell you what would have happened to that young Richard Zorns. Ricky, do you want to tell your story from?
Well, yeah, I'll tap in on that, because it was a very difficult time back then, because I think if you got in trouble, it was the natural instincts is that you do the crime, you do the time. And I think it became something that was, for me, by being taught at an early age how to steal and how we had to take care of our family and some of the things that we needed to do in order to survive. I learned at an early age that stealing was very acceptable for me, and for the person that taught me a lot of things. And the crazy thing about it is that I sat up one day and I realized that I've been out for 1 year, 3 months, 10 days, 12 hours, 25 minutes, and like about 16 seconds. So from the age of 12 till when I got out, 1 year, 3 months, we added it up, and I had only been not incarcerated since the age of 12. So from the age of 12 to the age of 51, I was incarcerated and only on the streets for 3 years and 4 months. So for most of my childhood, I was either on probation, incarcerated, or on parole until I was arrested at the age of 21, where I then still saw that there was no rehabilitation in the prison system, and it was all retributive. It was all you just have to make it, because nobody was going home. So there was never any set goal from camp was don't go to YA. From YA it was don't go to prison. From prison it was don't kill nobody or you never get out. And the crazy thing about it is I did every single one of them. And it was crazy, because in order for me to even realize what my legacy was going to be, it was something that my stepfather said at an early age was, boy, you're going to either end up in jail or you're going to end up dead. And I ended up in jail. And the crazy thing about it is the only way that I was not going to end up dead in jail was to change the way that I was living. And that's another part of how CRI helped me out. And so I think if somebody would have talked to me at an early age and asked me what was going on, and I would have felt safe in doing so, it would have been not a secret. And I think the longer I kept the secret, the more angrier I got, the more I wanted people not to see me hurt. So I created an image and I lived up to it. And luckily that image isn't anymore. I'm very happy. I'm going to make sure I keep it at 0 on my behalf. So I'm going to say restorative justice would help a lot. I think it's all about one of those, like she said, some of those principles: trust, patience. Those are a lot of real strong characters that I think I didn't have at an early age. And and the crazy thing about it is, my 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 girlfriend says, you still have no patience, so I'm still working on patience. So
Yeah.
I think
One
I'll
step
never
at a
get that
time.
one. I think I'll never get that one. So I'll use that as a thorn.
It's one step at a time, Ricky.
I'm
So,
learning.
yes,
It's a rough.
absolutely. Well, we do have some time to take a few questions from our audience. And the first, and thank you for all who have shared and answered the questions. And now we have a more fun question from Anthony. So for folks who have been inside for close to 30 years, how different is the world outside? So when you first got out, how different was it from when you first were incarcerated?
So let me talk on that one right there. Let me say so. So I went to jail as a mad person, right? While I was in jail, they came up with these telephones and the computers, and I stay calling Colette, Grace, hey, I need help, with how to text and anything, right? Also when I went to jail, I was very mad. I was very mad. I came home very happy. So I learned that patience that Ricky was talking about. Not to get mad at the phone and the computers and at people. Just smile. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Can I,
Anyone else?
Arthur?
Yes.
Tell them what an angry human being you were and for how
Yeah,
long.
I was very angry. I remember one time Ricky seen me practicing Shakespeare. He said, "Hey, bruh, what you was doing down there in that corner?" I said, "I was practicing Shakespeare." He said, "Huh?" He said, "Why?" I said it was cool. He said, he shook his head. He said, would you have done that about 3 years ago? I said, no. He said, why? And I said, because I was worried about what people thought. He said, you got it. He said, you got it. Yeah, I was very angry. I was very angry. But now, I learned the tools, how to deal with things I can't, I don't have no control over. I just, and I don't have no problem with asking people, if they're strangers or not. I just ask. If I need help, I ask, so yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Arthur. Does anyone else want to share how different the world was when you first came home?
Well, I would like to know when the slow lane turned into the fast lane. That's what I'd really like to know. What year did that actually happen? Where, okay, let's go 80 miles an hour in the slow lane. I don't know.
That's a good question. Marty. Marty, did you have your hand up?
Oh, I did. I was gonna say it wasn't hard at all. It took
Oh.
me about 3 days to learn how to answer the phone, and then I was videotaping everybody for
Yeah,
everything because I
everybody.
hadn't been able to videotape. So everybody became part of the show and the rehabilitation process. And so I have all this great footage of everyone that's in this room except for Roger, which I'm going to get you later. Oh, I mean, I'll see you later.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, so we have time for about 2 more questions, which is perfect. The next question comes from Suzanne, one of our very own volunteers. Her question is, can you tell us what Truth for Youth is, or our youth program?
Anybody want to talk to? All right, Arthur, you love doing it so much. And our youth program, where we do meetings with high schools and colleges and working with kids. And for those of you that are watching, because of time constraints, we also have a program that's part of it inside San Quentin. And there is a trailer video on our website under our youth program of actually Richard, Ricky, and Marty, and some other gentlemen speaking about their youth and talking to young people out here. And like Ricky said, had there been someone who had listened or he thought cared and wanted to understand why he was doing the things he was doing as opposed to being punitive about it, that he probably never would have spent those years in juvenile hall and the youth authority in prison. So I asked for you to take a few minutes to look at it, but tell us about what you think about doing it. Arthur, we'll start with you, then Ricky, you can talk, Roger can, Marty, talk to it.
Kids, I think I really enjoy talking to the kids. What I found is that kids are just like most adults. They want to be heard. And I listen to them. But I love the kids. They're beautiful. We talk to Berkeley High School students, and they are just they're smart. They're a future. So they have to understand. Where we've been, where we've come. They got to carry this on next. I think kids are just pure. They're just pure. To people, just grown people corrupt them. I really enjoy talking to kids. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, does anyone else want to speak to our youth program, your experience with it?
I'm Roger. Not too long ago, we did a Zoom program with, it was like, I think it was like something like 33 college students from LA College down there. And that was my first experience on Zoom and sharing. And for me, it was very emotional because I had really just got out. And there's a lot of built up emotions inside. But I did it. And, it's hard to say no to Colette. I couldn't. When she asked me, honestly, I was like, get scared. She knows I get a little nervous talking in front of people, but even though I know they were all there, but I was happy because that's our future. They're the future, and if we can open our hearts and open people's minds to seeing life from a different lens, from somebody else's point of view, if it can help somebody, help their opinion instead of being so judgmental, maybe seeing that like we've changed, I've changed, and all these guys have changed, and I mean, for God's sake, I don't even want to jaywalk.
You better not.
I was in the second lane just real short 2 days ago. Boom! The car went by me doing like probably 80 miles an hour in the right lane, and right on my left side, highway patrol came flying on the left side. I was like, "Ooh, good, not me." I behaved the speed laws, believe me. But it honestly, it was good sharing, and I just hope it helped. You know, I really do. So
Yeah.
I hope it helped whoever's listening tonight too.
Yes. It what you guys do makes an impact. And even if it just impacts one person, that is the whole world. So I think it's invaluable to have you speak to students and really share your heart, your story. And I don't think it'll be something that they'll forget. So we have time for one last question. And it is from our beloved Cindy from our volunteer program. Her question is, I would like to know what has been the hardest thing during reentry and what has been the happiest and most exciting thing during reentry.
Hey, this is a family show.
Got to be mindful of the audience, Arthur.
For me, for Roger, for me, I went to a baby shower for my great granddaughter. Alexandria's having another baby, and to be around the family and to be around the little Angelo, my little grandson, my great grandson, and my son and his wife and the whole family. That was for me. That was joy beyond imagination. I couldn't hardly believe it. I was just walking on a cloud. Really
Yeah.
great. But hi, Cindy. Nice to see you. Or no, you didn't know that you're there anyway.
All right.
So I'll say that, you know, personally, I think it was the first day, first 5 seconds that I was out. All I could tell my mom was she could breathe.
Mhm.
She could stop worrying. I think from that point on, everything else, it just can't get no better. You know, there's a lot of things that are going to come in my life that are going to be probably groundbreaking, because a lot of it is the first time that I'm doing anything since I've been my 20s, 30s, 40s, and beginning of my 50s in prison. So I cherish everything. But the one thing that I can say, there's a lot of people that are in there who unfortunately lost their parents, and they weren't able to let them be able to get that burden off of their of what their legacy is going to be with their parents. And I'm able to have that opportunity, and I'll just take advantage of it.
Yeah.
It's my game, and I'm Pop.
Mm-hmm. And Marty, you had your hand up.
I did. I would say that by far the hardest thing is learning the Baby Shark song. You know, do 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 do. No, I'm just kidding. That was really difficult.
I can teach that song.
No, technology by far is probably one of the hardest ones. Who doesn't know the Baby Shark song?
Oh, I know it.
Good, you can raise your hand. Okay. All right. So clearly, and the dance. Don't forget the dance. I will say that yeah, technology has definitely been my biggest challenge, and probably not having enough time to do all the things that I want to do. Um, and obviously, relationships are really difficult. COVID, you don't get to meet new people as often as, at least I don't, as often as I'd like. Um, and the biggest choice would be food for sure. Um, and I don't know, just just soaking it all in. Like it's just being reborn. For me, it's a being reborn again. And so I get the luxury of looking at the world with fresh eyes. So yeah, that's probably the best part.
Amen to that.
Huge love.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And we are closing in at the end of our time. So I just want to thank each and every one of our panelists. Thank you, Arthur, Roger, Frankie, Marty, Ricky, and Colette. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories with us, and again, being vulnerable in this, and sharing your heart for CRI and your heart for others. We can really see the change and the transformation and the passion that comes through the screen. And we want to thank Colette and everyone at CRI for the hard work that it takes to coordinate an event like this, especially online. We hoped we would have been in person with all of you and hug you and, kiss you on the cheek or whatever it is, but this is the second best thing. And we just want to thank them for providing the opportunity to have this space and this conversation. I also just want to remind everyone that tonight is actually the kickoff for our annual fundraiser. So you made it. This is the first night. You're like the VIPs, and we want to ask you. We want to ask you if you can to consider supporting CRI by participating in the next 2 nights. We will be having, we have auction items on our site through Octria, wonderful items that you can bid on, you can look at. We have amazing, amazing items. And tomorrow night, there will be a free painting party tomorrow evening. And I encourage you to join. And you might think to yourself, I'm not an artist. I can barely draw stick figures. It doesn't matter. You are an artist and you got to unleash your inner Bob Ross and come to our painting party. There will be lots of creative painting fun accompanied by prizes. So you do not need to be an artist to participate. And we'll be announcing the winner of our Golden Key contest on Saturday. So if you haven't picked a key and you want to, I encourage you to go to our site and pick a key. The winner will be awarded with
What's happening?
a wine.
I'm on a thing with Colette right now. What's up?
The winner of the key contest will be awarded a wine country getaway. And with the way 2020 is going, who doesn't need a wine getaway? You know what I'm saying? So, yes. So please check out our site. Please consider, doing our paddle call, checking out our auction items, getting the Golden Key contest, and please join us for our painting party tomorrow night. It'll be so much fun. And we thank you so much for joining us for our panel today.
And please don't be shy.
Bye, everybody.
Come on, Road Dog.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Ricky.
you.
You're still one of the best right fielders I ever coached.
All right, Frankie.
All right, Arthur.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
All right, Grace.
Bye.
All right, Colette.
All right.
Hey,
Martin.
there's Orlando. Said hello.
Orderly.
Tell him we can't wait to see him.
Yeah, he said he can't either. He said he's waiting on his letter.
It was dropped off at the institution today.
There you go. Dropped off today, Doug.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, Grace.
He said thank
Bye,
you.
Grace.
All right.